Hello everyone, and here we are back with our final block, block 20 of our 2020 quilt. So this final block is going to be working with the quarter square triangles, the same block that we learned to do in the last block, except that this time we're going to be working with 3 colors. Here was my leftover one from last time, and we only had the 2 colors, so we only needed to deal with 2 5 1/4 inch squares, and it created 2 of our quarter square triangles. This time we want to have 4 quarter square triangles, so we're going to need to have 2 squares of our background, which is going to be this color, and that'll create these background pieces. We need 2 squares that are going to be our accent pinwheel. And then we're going to need 4 squares to be this kind of secondary, kind of a spinner shape. Okay, so we need a total of 4 squares, 1 background, 1 accent, and 2 of our secondary color. So what I've got today, and I've kind of already prepped these, so I dealt with this gold, which is going to be for my pinwheel, kind of my highest contrast color. And then I have this one here, which is going to be my background. And then I have 2 squares for my secondary color, which will be this kind of medium to create the spinner. So I need to work with one of these and my pinwheel color to create my 2 sets of half square triangles, and then a blue one with my background color to create a second set of half square triangles. So I already have these, my line drawn and my seams already sewn, so I can cut these apart. And now what I need to do is I need to take one of each set. So I'm going to end up making 2 different sets here. So I need to press so that my seam goes towards my color that I have 2 squares of. So again, this one would get pressed this way. And then I need to pick one of them and draw that line on the back. And then when I line them up, I need to make sure that I have one of the blue ones on top of the background color, and then my pinwheel color on top of the other blue. So again, I'm going to be lining up those seam allowances so that they're right on top of each other. I'm going to be sewing on either side of this line, just like we did last time. And then when I cut them apart and iron them open, I end up with my 3 color pinwheel with my 2 blues opposite each other, and then my, 3 color quarter square triangle with my 2 secondary colors opposite each other, my pinwheel color, and my background color. So I'm going to go sew these together and then come back and show you how we're going to add this little accent corner. Alright, so here I am back with my quarter square triangles, and I need to take this one that I've sewn and I need to cut it in half again. So I had that center line and I sewed my 1/4 inch on either side of that center line. I'm going to cut them in half, and there is my 3 color quarter square triangle. So you could actually have a 4 color quarter square triangle if each side of your half square triangles, if you had 4 different colors, so say red and white on one half square triangle and blue and green on another, you would end up with 1 color in each of your quarters. So now I need to take these and I'm going to trim them up to my 4 1/2. So once I have all 4 of them trimmed up, I'm not going to take the time to do it right now. In order to create this little corner, which gives me more of this spinner effect, I need to angle off one of the corners of this 1/4 square triangle. So I have my 4 pieces of my background fabric cut into my 2.5 inch squares, right? And again, I'm going to draw a line on the back of each one of those. And I want to make sure that I have my background color orientated to this side. Then I'm going to place this corner, and I'm going to sew directly on the line this time, so when I flip it open, I end up having that corner that's kind of chopped off. So I'll make 4 of them exactly like this, and then I'll be right back. So here I have my 4 1/4 square triangles. I sew the corner on, or my square corner to corner, and after I double check them, then I can come back and trim this piece off. So I've done that on the other ones. So now I have 4 pieces that are all exactly the same. Okay, so just double check and make sure that you're sewing this corner with your background orientated in the same direction each time. One thing just prior to going and sewing, I had grabbed these squares and I had said they were cut at 2.5, and actually when I double checked, because when I laid this up to here, it's like, oh, that square is bigger. So I had to double check my pattern, which again, we have to look at everything. You can't assume things. I had decided to make them 2 inches instead of 2.5. Now if I had done this, it really wouldn't have mattered. It just would have made this corner be a little bit bigger. So my secondary spinner would have appeared a little bit smaller. So on this particular one, it wouldn't have mattered, but on some patterns, it might make a difference, right? So just double check and make sure that you're cutting what the pattern says to cut, instead of assuming, like I did, that it was 2.5. We've been working with a lot of 2.5 inch squares, so it was kind of a logical thing to cut. So once I have my 4 squares, again, I'm going to place them, and I'm going to do a 1/4 turn each time so that that background color is always in my outside corner, and you can see my secondary, or my darkest color, is now creating that pinwheel, and then my secondary color is creating my spinner effect. All right, so again, I'm going to sew these together and complete this block, and then I'll be back to show you my other blocks and one other thing that I did different on one of those blocks. And here we have our finished block for today. So again, my 4 1/4 square triangles, my outside corners that were cut off, making sure that they're orientated correctly with my background color, and my pinwheel, which is my contrast color. So this was my red and white one. And this was the one that I did out of my scrap bin. So again, I have that high contrast with my background, my pinwheel, and my secondary spinner fabric. This was the one that I ended up making with my 12 fat quarter group. So one thing you'll notice is my corners, I chose a different color than my background color. After I started putting these blocks together, for what I thought was a high contrast with my pinwheel color and my background, I'd chosen these 2 fabrics, and at the time I thought this is definitely so yellow that it'll stand out against this one, but it really was, to me, too close for the definition. So by adding this dark corner, I felt that it helped to just frame out the block a little bit. If I had used this fabric again for my corner, I think it would have really washed it out. But these are the kind of things where sometimes you don't know until you get the block together. You look at your fabrics, you think there's high contrast there, and then once you start putting it together, it just isn't working out the way you were hoping it would. So this fabric really seemed to kind of trip me up whenever I used it, because there was almost equal amounts of the black, the white, the blue, the green. Whenever I put it with any other print, it really wanted to flow into those prints. It was usually better when it was up against solid. However, I think 2 blocks ago when I used it, these green points flowed right into the green I had next to it. So these kind of fabrics can be a little bit tricky when you have multiple colors but almost equal amounts of each color. So you got to be real careful as to putting it up against something that's going to be solid to really define those fabrics. So that's what we have for today. Again, it is the last of our 2020 blocks. I do have a few setting ideas that I'm going to be bringing you in the next couple weeks. So if you haven't begun putting your blocks together, you can wait for those to come out. I know several of you have been making smaller projects with them all along, and that is awesome. That's what this is all about, is to get you to kind of have those creative juices flowing all by yourself. And then I might be adding, occasionally there may be just a surprise pattern suggestion to the 2020 group just for something different. Again, you have all these patterns now and you can continue to make them. Maybe pick 1 or 2 and put them into a table runner, or use 1 block for the pocket of a tote bag, whatever you want to do. But you can create them over and over and over just for different looks on different things. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation and that you've gotten some new tricks and tips to add into your own library of information. And we will be back in a couple weeks with some of our finishing ideas. Thanks for joining me for this, and have a great day. Bye.